Let's take a look at the searches you need to do to select a 4K video camera that is under 2,500 euros. For that, we are going to do first, well, as it is a relatively complicated subject, I have already done the searches, and I am going to comment them instead of doing them. First, we are going to search in Spanish and English. On the one hand, we will look for what you see here of 4K camcorder comparison. That is how it is said in English. And also we will look for in Spanish here above 4K camcorder comparison. Well, look that here we have some good and cheap comparisons. Well, here we get some camera prices. Some of them are close to what we want to spend. Best comparisons, knitting noodles, all these I have been seeing, and they are very commercial comparisons to sell you a camera. Sakata is a technology blog with a lot of prestige, so we can look at this one. And among the English ones, we have this one of best 4K camcorders updated to 2021. Look here from Epifilms TV, this one can be interesting to look at. Then we have here another one from PHP Photo Video that can also be interesting to look at. Let's see the ones we have obtained, and from there we will go on. Let's go to this one from Zakata. Let's go down. And here we see that this is from 2016. It is a little bit old. So it already talks about several things like recording video in 4K, the advantages of 4K versus Full HD, the differences and disadvantages versus Full HD. So here we can already get ideas for what we have to buy. For example, the issue of sensor performance, which remains an essential component, with which a larger sensor will have better sensitivity in low light, for example. He also talks about the codec, how the camera is going to save what it is recording. If it is going to record with compression, with less compression, what bit rate it is going to have. These are very technical things, but in the comparison we can get an idea of what we have to look at. Here he talks about several options. Using the smartphone's own camera, using a photo camera. And then by those that are the D, S, L, R, and D, S, C gives us the different types of cameras with which we can record video. And then what are the video cameras themselves that have their advantages and their disadvantages, because at the time we are looking for a video camera, which is what we want. Well, because for jobs in which the video has to be recorded for a long time to be able to configure the parameters very well, a video camera is more operative than a photo camera. We have already decided that we want a video camera. Well, then here they recommend us two, the X1000 and the Sony X70 that probably no longer exist, because this is from 2016, but we already have for Panasonic and Sony an idea of which they are. Here we have therefore action cameras that we are not interested in, photo cameras, and lastly the video cameras that are down here, because here we have one. The Canon XDXC, this one is a video camera. We can see a detailed analysis here, and then we have the Panasonic X1000. And the Sony X70, this one says that it was worth about 2,500 euros. The Sony X70 that, as I say, are probably discontinued, but we can look for the equivalent. Let's continue looking at the comparisons we have found. In Basque, you obviously need to know English to use the comparisons in English, but it is worth it if we could not tell you with the right mouse. Button to translate to Spanish. Normally, if you know English, it is better to see it in English because you can lose some details, but if you look at it, you can also see it in Spanish. You can talk about, we are going to see it in English again so that you can see the cameras. Here he talks about consumer cameras, which are the lowest range cameras that are probably cheaper than the 2,500 that we want to spend. Then professional cameras, and then he talks about, look, professional cameras, consumer and prosumer. Prosumer is the, let's say, between professional and consumer, which are then probably in the price range that we want. Here there are a lot of cameras, the Canon XA, 50XA, 55, the XC, X2000, which probably is the successor of the X1000 that we have seen elsewhere, the Zeta 90 that is probably the successor of the A70 that we have seen. These are put as professionals. These are from consumer, probably are of a lower range to the one we are looking for, and these of prosumer can interest us. This article can be broken down here. We are going to see if it's worth it. Here we have the specifications. The 1-inch sensor that goes up to 30 frames per second, that has an optical 5-axis image stabilizer. Well, then a number of features that, if we want, we have here. Here we have a review where he gives us the specifications even with a video. And here he comments on the camera. I'm going to give it back to continue looking for. Now we already have that. There is of Canon. The XA, 50XA, 55 from Panasonic, which is the same as the one in the other article. Well, a later model, probably another from Canon. And this one from Blackmagic that we'll see if any of them are out of price, and the one from Sony. And J-Sci VSI. If we then go to what he calls here consumer, and down here we have in prosumer a Canon Vixia that seems less professional than the previous ones, but that is also worth to take a look. Having seen this before we continue, we are going to do another search. We know that the cameras are called prosumer, the ones that are going to be our price range more or less, because 4K camcorder of prosumer comparison. Here appears the same one that we already have. And we also get this one. Best prosumer video cameras. And here we have a professional camcorder comparison chart. These I have opened them here. Well, let's see first of all the other comparative that had left us here in 4K camcorder comparison. We have as second this BH photo video. That is this page of here. Let's see what it loads. And here it doesn't tell us much, but it does give us in dollars or if the price of the cameras. So we can already at a quick glance orient us to which ones. We are going to go, the Canon, the XA50 fits us. The NX80 fits us, that we have not seen in the comparison. When we go to the Sony page, we will see if it exists. Then we go here, we have the XA40 is below, so we are not interested. The JVC170 is cheaper. We will see if there is one more expensive. The XA45 is a little below. These are dollars, so we would have to translate it into euros. And then with the taxes, the XA45 is already a little out of control. The 605 is already out of our price range. The 15 is below. The Panasonic 2000, if it is in the range, then we are talking about the XA50, and the Panasonic 2000 are in the range. The HCX1 is a little above, even in dollars. It will be a little less in euros, but when we add the taxes and so on, it will go away, so it is out of range. Then we are already between the Panasonic HC2000 and the Canon XA50. The 1500, which is very similar to the 2000, is cheaper. In fact, if we go here to the comparison to the 1500, sorry, to the 2000 that we had here, let's go further up. Here is the 2000 in the review. We can see that there is even a video where they compare it and where they tell us that the 1500 is the same as the 2000, but without this handle and without the possibility of taking the video by SDI, which is an output bus that is used in professional television. Let's continue with what we were. We have the Panasonic HCX2000 and the Canon XA50 would be good for us. This one is also in the range. We will see if it exists. This one that we have seen in the comparison in Spanish is cheaper. The Canon XCX735 is out of range. This Sony is too expensive. This JVCC 620 is a little overpriced. Surely there will be some other JVC that fits us. For example, a 250SP is in the order of what we want, because we already have 3 Canon cameras, Panasonic and JVC, and surely we will find some Sony that is also in that price range. But this page is good for us to not have to be looking at the prices of all, to see more or less what is our price range. Then, within what we have found here with the best prosumer, here it does not say 4K, with which we are going to see this article. In this article it tells us about this camera that does not say that it is 4K. That is to say that it will probably be full HD. 4K is that it records videos of 4000 pixels. This one of here we get the X1000 again. Then we have the Canon Vixia H-Star GF20. This is the same one that came out, or similar to the one that came out in prosumer here in NCP. Well, it's only that this is 4K. The 43, we will look at Sony to see if this one fits the price. This one is cheaper, so it is not in the range we are looking for. Here it is very interesting for us to consider buying because they have 2 SD cards to be able to exchange them and continue recording continuously without having to stop. The battery life, the accessory support, how long it lasts. Well, then that also serves us here in this comparison of 4K consumer, camcorder prosumer comparison, We have also seen this, the professional champion with love chart that we have opened here that happens to be a PDF of Canon cameras. And here it tells us each of the Canon cameras, their characteristics, and here below we have a comparative, and here we can see the 45, the 50. The 50 was worth more or less what we want to spend, which these are probably out of price range. And here then tells us each one of them, their characteristics that we can study when buying. Well, what is the next step then? The next case is to open the pages of the manufacturers. Then we put here Canon camera, video camera 4K, and we see that it leaves us one of cameras, this one that we have here, Canon cameras, and that we also get video cameras. Video cameras and professional cameras. If we open the one of cameras, we find we are going to open the one that normal cameras. We find out that we have more user cameras. Well, one thing that comparing the pages, we can come to conclusions that the cameras that in EIU are called Vixia, in Europe are called Legria. And it would be this camera, Legria GX10, would be the equivalent of the one we have seen here in prosumer. This Vixia G. X10 is the Legria G. X10 that we can see, but we see that here there are no more professional cameras. We can see the details of this one. So here we would have all the data and such, and we could see what it's worth. I don't know if here we can see what it's worth. If not, we could put by Legria G, X10 and 2359, being a camera that is not as professional as the others because it has very good features. What it has is that many things are more automatic, that is a more professional camera. Then it depends on the type of use that we are going to give it. Because maybe we could be interested in buying this camera that has very good features, but that works a lot in automatic mode. Here are not the professional cameras, then we could put Canon professional video camera. And here, professional video cameras, Canon official website. We would go to this website. Okay. That we have here in products. These are photo cameras. Professional photo and video cameras here. Entering here, we would go to this page. We have gone to the same one. We are going to see a moment what would be the search to arrive at this page. Look at this is the page that I am looking for professional Canon video frame professional. Here it is. This is professional camcorders. Well, here is where we will have the 605 and the 55 we have seen. That is the 50 rather is the one that may interest us. I have looked at the catalogs where we see that the difference is that the 55 has SDI output that bus to work in professional television that we may need. And the 50 fit us. Well then here you have all the 705 and the 605. If we look for the prices, we will see that these three are out of price. Then we would go rather to the series XA. And here would be where we could have more information. Well, here we have it. Complete the type of sensor CMOS, the zoom that it has, are characteristics that are going to interest us. When it comes to see if it has a larger or smaller CMOS, if it has more or less zoom in, what format of recording. With JVC, we would do the same. We will see JVC, video camera to 4K, and look that we get video cameras 4K, and we get professional cameras. If we go to video cameras to 4K, we will see that it is the less professional. We could see what this one is worth. Copying it and putting here to buy. This one is worth about 800 euros, of 800 or 900. So it is of a range here. It put 832 on Amazon, of a lower range than the one we are looking for. Then let's go to the other search, which is professional cameras. And this is where we find the different cameras. We have seen in the comparative of H-Photo that the one that had a similar price to the one that we wanted to, our objective was more or less the 250. Then we have to see cameras. Let's see here, there are shoulder cameras. These are very expensive cameras. Well, they will be here handheld cameras. We can see that the worth of GYH620. But this is the one we have seen that is worth, or the 500. But this is the one we have seen that has a price similar to what we want. That it is not at 4K, so it is not worth it. Then we can look at then we do the same with Sony video camera, 4K. I have put semi-professional. From here, as always, we also have, as it is finding us, we have on the one hand the current camcorders and the professional video cameras. If we go to the cameras, the professional camcorders, then we see that here we have the 90. $150. 4K and the 200 that is 4K. Then we can look for the price and the characteristics to see if they interest us, as you can see here. The 70 that we had seen is not here because it will be discontinued. And then in the video cameras, let's say not professional ones, video cameras, look that we have here, it puts us the price, and it is easier. We have this, the X4KHD-R, that are 2,000 euros. That is the equivalent to that we have seen of Panasonic. That was not so professional, is more automatic, but that they have much quality, so it is one to consider. Well, finally, it remains us to see Canon Legria. This one that we have, that we had seen this one and this Sony, are very good cameras, but of a less professional range, with which they have more automatic functions. Finally, it remains us to go to look for Panasonic video camera, 4K, what will carry us to this website. In this page, we have the HCX1 that we have seen and the HC2000 and 2500. And here in all these, we can compare one with the other to see their features. Look here. In fact, here I have made a comparison that is to select the 3 cameras and to give him to the button to compare. Here it is worth to compare, having selected. And here we can see the sensors, the zoom. You see here below the zoom, the image, stabilizer in the recording modes, the supports. With all this, we already have enough information to choose our camera. In my search, I am between the HC. 2000X is then of Sony, no selection, has not been selected any, but because we have not seen the prices, but there is the PXWZ90, could be interesting. We are going to put by Sony, PXWZ90. And here we see that this one exceeds our budget. It goes up to 3055, so it wouldn't work for us. We have to look for another one, like the HXR NX200. These are more expensive because they are bigger, because this one, the PX, the HXR NX200. Let's see this one in any of them too. See it, 2580, this would be the one from Sony. We would be between the one from Sony, the HXRNX190, this Panasonic, or CX2000, the Canon XA50, or the JVC250SB. If we wanted a more professional camera, between the Canon, this one here, Legria GX10, and the Sony XA700, if we wanted a very good camera with great features but more automatic, something more domestic, well then what we would have to do is to go and say, well, in fact we could compare between them. The search would be comparison Panasonic XA, 2000 Canon XA50, and we would find this page of VH Photo Video, where we can see one in front of the other, their characteristics. When it comes to choosing, depends on what interests us more. For example, this one has a larger sensor. One has more zoom than the other. Well, once done that, the last step, here we have another comparison. It seems to me that it was here to not, this is the purchase already, to see, to accept all. No, this was to buy a camera, the worth of the 1500. The next step is, on the one hand, on the manufacturer's own websites, there will be a option of where to buy that. Is going to direct us to distributors of the zone where we live to be able to ask. Well, I have taken a very, very simple camera, and here it is to let's go to take the camera that we had chosen. Let's take the camera that we had chosen instead of the Handycam. Let's go here to this one. Let's see if we go in. Here we will probably have a button of where to buy, where it will send us to the distributors in our country to be able to buy it. If it is a cheaper camera, we could try to go to Amazon. Well, even these Amazon sells them to the big sellers, or as you have seen that I have done, the following step is to put by Canon XA50. Look apart from the ads that would appear in Canon website, in Cameralia, in Photalk, in Monca de Lorenzo. We can get prices on Amazon, photo occasion. Here we have the Z90 of Sony. This one is that we have seen that is out of range because it was 3,000 euros. So this we close it, but instead of this one, we can go and say what I have put before, by Sony NX200. Now it would consist of analyzing all these pages that are coming out, like Provideo Sevilla, Más que Video, etc. Look for opinions of that company if we do not know it, and decide. where we buy it. In fact, first we would have to see between the Sony, the Panasonic, the JVC, and the Canon that we have said, which is the one we are most interested in comparing their features, and then see the price. If we have doubts between two, because depending on the price can also decide. With this, we have already done the exercise of select.